voila.
Thank you for making it at 10:08 on a Sunday morning. You guys are literally something else. I don't know who I would have done this for. So, there's this immense pressure on me to now be meaningful, and it's like I find it hard to say what I have to. I'm not going to speak to you as a CEO of Nearby, anything like that. I get enough opportunities to do that. I wanted to speak to you more as an alum. Been out of the ISB family now for 10 years, but still been a very active part of it. Graduated in 2006 when ISB was only in its 5th year, saw a very different side of the school. There was no Mohali back then, only Hyderabad. We were a batch of 330 odd people. We knew each other by names and faces. Okay, for the, all right, and it was a year that completely transformed me. Absolutely changed who I was as an individual. Got to know a lot about who I was as a person, how to deal with people. There are just so many emotions that you guys would have already experienced just within you and on people around you. And I can guarantee you that as soon as the placement season comes, you will see an absolutely different side of your own self and people around you again. That entire movement of how you deal with it will be fascinating. The 3 things that I wanted to talk to you about as an alum who's been out of this ISB circle for 10 years and now has seen this world to some extent. To give you a brief background about what I did, I came into ISB with only 2 years of experience, a little less than 2 years. So I was literally at the bottom of the pyramid, nothing to contribute, learning a lot from others. And I joined management consulting from ISB. I was part of the 80 Khani management team. 2 things to note. One, I'm not from any IITs. I'm not an engineer, and I wasn't a Dean's Lister. So if there's any hope, then it's me. And if you want to have a shot at consulting, just look at a profile like mine and say, if that can happen and that dumbass can get through, then clearly I can. But that doesn't mean that you should pursue consulting just as a blind goal. Got through consulting, had an absolutely fantastic time. It's by far, especially for a young professional, one of the best professions you can get out of business school. Teaches you a lot, throws you into this sea of challenges where you're among smart people. You're almost feeling overwhelmed with the smartness around you and the problems that you're trying to solve, and you solve meaningful problems and so on and so forth. Always wanted to become an entrepreneur, and then one chance accident led me to start up while I was at Khani. So I, for a year, moonlighted in Khani while I was spending time on the startup. After a year, the startup grew to a fairly decent size, and that's when I quit Khani full time and joined the startup. Ran that again for several years. 2009, exited the big one out of that, which was Gaadi.com, to the ITBO group. And at that point of time, there were 3 co-founders, all 3 from ISB. Vivek, who was the CEO, stayed behind to look after the other assets that we had built. Umang went on to become the CEO of Gaadi.com, now is running successfully a Gaadi and a Car-Dekho merger. They are active recruiters on ISB as well. And I exited to find what would be the next opportunity for myself. Got in touch with this business called Rocket Internet, which was a fairly young company back then. They were setting up shop in India, looking for founders to do that. I became one of the 3 co-founders of Rocket, set up the first business plan for Jabong. Then one thing led to another, and I was part of the Groupon team, which was also a Rocket venture back then. 2011, started the Groupon India business, got that to scale, was managing India, Indonesia, Thailand, and Philippines for Groupon. And last year, when we recognized that being part of the Groupon portfolio was necessarily not helping us as much as we thought, and their idea of Groupon was very different from how I thought we should be in India, we did a management buyout, and we bought in Sequoia Capital, True Blue, business school fundamentals, textbooks. We did a leverage buyout where we actually got in funding, bought out the shareholding of Groupon, and now have an independent entity called Nearby, which is not owned by Groupon or Sequoia or us. It's a co-ownership between Groupon, Sequoia, and the management team. No one has a majority shareholding, and pretty much the same yada yada yada. In these 10 years, and I go back to the time when I was like you guys, there are 2 things that I observed yesterday when I met several of you. One, you are seemingly unnecessarily tense about stuff. And I was told the class of 2016 is to be blamed on certain counts because they don't do shit. And then they got fucked in the end. And then they told me, no, please sort your shit out because just study. Like, I just heard that no one stood up for the consulting president in Hyderabad because people wanted to study. Yeah. Or they felt they were distracted, like, sorry, what? And that doesn't work. So I saw that visibly. It's natural what you guys are feeling. It's absolutely natural for you to be comfortable with what you're feeling. And I can only tell you a few things that perhaps will help you cut through that. Number one, and it's a story that I'm really fond of because it's truly a reflection of how life operates. I take a course in a business school in Gurgaon, and I'm one of the light so-called professors there because the course does not have a final exam. And you will also recognize you love professors who don't have a final exam towards the end. Term 7 and 8 always optimize for the courses that don't have an exam. Yes. And that's hack 101 of ISB. So I don't have a final exam in that course. The final exam is just one question. And that question is, list at least 3 things that you learned from this course. That's it. That's the final exam. List at least 3 things that you learned from this course. Almost always in the last 5 years, everyone has failed that exam. Because almost everyone lists exactly 3 things that they learned from the course. But my question was list at least 3 things that you learned from the course. And this is a perfect reflection of how fucked up we are and how we've been brought up. Not our fault, but that's the DNA that we've been brought up in. We've been told that when you start work, there are things that you'll be told to do. These 3 things, these 5 things, whatever it is. And if we do that, we'll be successful. So we've been taking the definition of success from the world that has been given to us and applying it and assuming that that's success. But if you look around you and everyone that you think is even remotely successful or the people that you look up to, you will constantly see that they never took the world's definition of success as a true definition of success. In fact, they are scared to even think that there is a definition for success. Because what they don't know is if they do become successful the day that they reach that goal that they set it, what would they do the next day? It is scary in that thought to even get to a goal. And I'm going to tell you that this 1 year will define a lot of these so-called misplaced sense of success parameters for you. A dean's list is a success. A consulting job is a success. You getting through a cool startup is a success. 30 lakhs is success. You getting this gold medal is success, so on and so forth. And it'll be your choice whether you take that definition as a true blue measure of success or you define it for your own self. And it's the hardest shit to do. It's not that I had done a good job of it when I was a student, but now that I recognize there were moments and things that I did during that class that helped me and that truly helped me stand out. So last year when we came to near ISB to recruit, we constantly wanted to look at people who don't go by the definition of a global success. So we came in with something which is very dramatic, and we told people, the resume that you submit to nearby for either product or project management, which is what we were hiring for, needs to be a colored resume. That's what we said. It needs to be a colored resume. And it was unbelievable the kind of reaction that it generated within the class, because there were people now saying, what do you mean by color? Like, is highlighting color? Do you really mean colored resume by the gravity of the words that I use? Like, do I need to paint the resume? What do I have to do to make it colored? I says, no, go and figure that shit out, but just give us a colored resume. Because the last thing we wanted is to all the 900 odd people be fitting into a fucking template. Because I don't want a template. I don't need to define a template, nor should you be defining your template. Like yesterday, one of the students asked me, should I write education on top or experience on top? Are you fucking kidding me? Clearly, you have 9 years of experience and that's the question you think is going to define why you get a shortlist or not? Really? So give yourself that credit. You have to completely change what your definition of success is, and that cannot be what we tell you. That cannot be what I tell you standing as an alum. That cannot be what the administration tells you sitting in their nice hunky chairs. It needn't be that one page. It needn't be that format. You're not going to go through an honor code violation if you come up with a different template of the resume, or going to say something else, but just define what your success is. If you are a creative individual, you are absolutely fucking yourself by writing a resume that is that stupid, boring one-pager. It doesn't reflect who you are. If you are a genius coder, I would love you to write code in that resume, because if someone who is hiring you for code reads that, they will fucking love you, because they know it stands up. So it's very easy for you to go to StoryPic and BuzzFeed and share all these cool things about people who wrote this nice resume and applied to Instagram at that page and whatnot, but it could be you. It should be you. And you would want to do that. So when I was at ISB, I was like, you know what? I'm not a Dean's Lister, and I'm not from any of these IITs. I'm not even an engineer, so I'm like some bottom 30% of the class or so-called. That's what I was made to believe. But if I truly want to do consulting, which is I wanted to do, I have to get their attention. And I have to figure out how do I get their attention. So I knew what was great in me, and I knew what I could stand for. So I completely rewrote my resume. I took a piece of paper and I took several post-its and I started writing on the post-its. And I just said, yeah, did my master's from Michigan State, tuck, post-it. Did this, tuck. Love photography, tuck. Been this, tuck, 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 tuck. It was a page just with post-its. And I color photocopied it, and that was my resume. That was my resume. It was a post-it resume. And McKinsey did select me, which is fine because they had to perhaps adhere to a process. But every other consulting firm shortlisted me. And I don't know whether that was the reason why they did it or not, but I'd like to believe that there was something that I did in defining what was that success parameter that got me to doing that. And that will be the biggest lesson that you can tell yourself. And trust me, there will never be a better simulation of real life as this year will be. But with the difference that even if you make a mistake, you're not going to get fucked. Nothing that you can do, and I was telling this to someone yesterday, believe me when I say this, nothing that you can do here in this 1 year is going to fuck your life. Nothing. Unless, of course, it's something illegal, and so you'll kill people. But nothing that you do which is legal is going to kill or just absolutely jeopardize your life forever. So don't give yourself and this 1 year more credit than it deserves. Take the onus of defining what success is. Don't let it be defined by what we tell you to do. Don't let it be defined by the world that's outside. Don't let it be defined by people who are staying next to you saying, "Tu ye nahi kar raha, tu wo nahi kar raha." But all those are going to stay. But don't let anyone define success for you. Which means you will have to start by defining it for your own self. It's going to be hard, but you'll have to do it for yourself. That's number one. Number two. ISB is the best fucking trap that this world will have. It's a trap. In fact, I believe I'm in the matrix and this entire world is a trap. And the trap is the following. When you look at Google and you look at a company that has 65,000 people and has been consistently rated as the top company to work for 15 years, you recognize that it's a trap. And the trap is those 65,000 people enter in an environment every day and are blessed with facilities, infrastructure, talent, and challenges that people would die to get even for 1 day in their life. And they get it every single day. Any one of you from Google? Great, right? We love you. But I went to the Google Gurgaon office, right? So I have a lot of good friends there and so on and so forth. If you've ever been to a Google cafeteria, you will fucking see what entitlement is what. Like literally, it will just blow your mind out. Where there are cuisines. Were you in the Gurgaon office? So there is this nice South Indian counter, and this Chinese counter, Italian counter, health counter, non-health counter, who are you counter, who am I counter, fuck you counter. Like it's just all across. And people are literally wasting food, judging the food, judging what it is. And so I went in there and I was like, I just have a normal lunch, dal roti, I go in there, there's this nice bowl of rotis in there, and I pick up one, And the guy comes running and says, "Sir, ye mat lijiye, ye thandi ho chuki hai." I'm like, really? Are you serious? Like, you're going to give me hot rotis? But the fact is this, it's a trap because 65,000 people go through that journey every single day, and what Google is optimizing for are those 1% odd, those 650 odd people who get up every morning and say, "I don't deserve this shit. I don't deserve all of this. I have to work my ass off every single day and come in and deliver the best 24 fucking hours of my life to even come close to getting what they give me every day." And most people don't. And you guys don't as well. And yesterday when I was sitting and someone says, "Yeah, this sambar sucks." Like, really? Like, where were you staying before this? Like, what? Literally, like, you're in Mohali. They're not even made to, like, it's not designed to make good sambar, right? They just get it. But even then, like, what is that sense of entitlement that you suddenly got in a month that says, "Oh my God, this food sucks"? It doesn't suck. You just take it. You just take this shit because you are literally, look around you for a minute and just see what you have. 285 smartly selected people thrown at you for a year. Facilities, infrastructure, alums, administration, whatnot, opportunities. Someone's actually going to give you a job at the end of this year. Let me repeat that again. Someone is going to give you a job at the end of this year. If you go to a US business school, you're meant to fetch your own job from day one. And you talk to those US guys and they will tell you what they go through. You will have companies come and interview you and then give you a job while you don't move out of this campus. You will have companies come in and recruit you while you don't move out of this campus. It's an entitlement. So don't get comfortable. Don't fucking get comfortable. Do not ever in life get comfortable. Because it's a trap. The entire world is a trap designed to get you comfortable. That's the absolute agenda of every successful company out there. You go to American Express, you go to Citibank, you go to Google, you go to Facebook, you go to Uber, go to any place. It's a trap. The only thing in the last 6 months that people have spoken about it nearby is our fancy office. God, we work a lot harder than just our fancy office. But that's the only thing that comes through. And you see that sense of entitlement, where people like this. There was someone who actually said 2 weeks back, "Ye jab table pe napkin khatam ho jate hain na, to koi lata hi nahi hai wapas." I think, really? True? Did you just say that? Did you just say that? A startup does not mean coolness. The startup means that you're going to slog your ass off every day. You should be thanking your stars that we can even afford an office like that and have given it to you and to me. But don't take it into a sense of entitlement. Like, what are you talking about? Why would you get comfortable? So the trap that I can easily foresee, and we've all been victims of that, and I can tell you that that's the biggest trap that you fall into, is to get comfortable this year. And comfort is not, you may say, "Oh, no, I'm still stressed." I am still stressed because no, I worry about my job and I worry about my grades and whatnot, but you're still living a life of comfort. If you watch even one fucking episode of Game of Thrones again, you are getting comfortable. I tell you that. You are so seriously getting comfortable. This 1 year is not Game of Thrones. This 1 year is not any public viewing of any goddamn race or sport or match or beer or anything like that. You did not come here to party. If a party is happening and you get free booze or cheap booze, you are blessed. You drink one of it and go back home and sleep and get up every morning and just do your best 24 hours work. That's what this year is designed to. And I can tell you, you will forget this shit the minute you walk out of this room. And you will do exactly what you have to do. Because that's how we're all designed. And there's nothing that I can tell you to convince you that don't waste this year in doing shit. It will not help. It will not. And at the end of the year, you will be. Like someone asked me yesterday, what is the thing that you regret the most from your 1 year of ISB? And I thought about it a lot. And I actually genuinely felt that the biggest thing I regret from the 1 year at ISB is that I didn't get to know more people than I should have. That's the biggest thing I regret. I genuinely didn't get to know more people than I should have. There is just so much that lies within all of you. Like yesterday I spent time with you guys and it was fascinating to hear your life lessons, your life stories, your journeys, how are you thinking about it, how you go about finalizing what you want to do and how you want to do it and so on. And you learn. I do this because I enjoy it and I learn. I don't do this because someone's paying me or someone's forcing me. I do it out of genuine interest because it makes me a better individual. I get different perspectives. My job is to manage people. And if I can get to know a lot more about people, I will effectively become a better judge of how people react in different situations. That's my learning. That's how I train myself. And that's how you should be doing as well. If you want to become a manager, which all of you will become, or a CEO or anything else, you have to get to know how people behave and operate in different circumstances. But it will not happen if you choose to lead a life of comfort, doing whatever you have to do. Don't do that. Don't get comfortable. And the third thing is this entire year will be this massive emotion of insecurity where you will feel insecure. If you have left your girlfriend and boyfriend in the cities that you came from, they will feel, oh my God, you changed. You were no more that person who used to be. Like you're always, you're on the phone but you're talking to someone else. Like, oh, why can you not pay attention to the 5-minute call that you're having with me? Like, can you stop saying hi to people? And that happens. It just happens. And you feel insecure in your relationships. You feel insecure sitting in your office. You feel that the world around you is smarter than you. You feel insecure in how you're thinking about your life. You're thinking about your career and so forth. And we recently, the ecosystem in the startup world has dramatically changed in the last 6 months. And everyone had to take a lot of hard decisions. We at Nearby also did. We, in any typical year, would have had the appraisal process take over, and the bottom 10% would be naturally weighted out. It will be a self-selection. They will be told in as many words that you're not cutting it, they will find a new job, and in about 2 months they will find their way out. That's what we've been doing for the last 5 years, and it's worked out beautifully. This year we said, no, we're going to take a hard stand. So we're going to let the performers know that you didn't make it, and in 1 month, you got to go. That's it. Decision made. It's non-performance, you didn't cut that, and you're supposed to leave. And it was the first time that something like this had happened at Groupon/Nearby. The company was not structurally built to take this instant reaction. And what instantly happened was people went into this mode of insecurity. They thought that, oh my God, if I come to office tomorrow, will I be asked to leave? But the reality was no, it was just a performance issue. So all those who had been told that they were meant to leave were the only ones who would leave. Excuse me, rest everyone was just left with that feeling of insecurity. And I didn't know how to deal with that because it was the first time that I was actually facing this organization going through this emotion of insecurity. So I read a lot about it. I spoke to a lot of people who have been through similar journeys, a lot of entrepreneurs. And I recognize this one thing about insecurity. We feel insecure because we do not have a sense of value that we create for the system we are part of. We feel insecure because we do not have a sense of the value we create for the system we are part of. If you're in a relationship and you feel insecure, it's because you don't know how important you are. And you've never tried to attempt the importance there. How is it that you're really building that relationship and helping it move forward? If you feel insecure in a job, that's because you have no idea of how much value you add to the system. And it's very easy to get consumed in the day-to-day work and say that this was my job, refer to the first point I was making, and I've done that, and so I'm successful. But it's harder for you to go down the absolute truth of how much value do I really create in the system through my work. So if you are, I had that conversation with, say, the mobile team at Nearby. It's like, you guys make apps for Nearby every single day. How much business do you think the mobile app does on a monthly basis? And none of them knew. Not even one engineer knew how much business we do through the mobile app on a monthly basis. Because they don't have a sense of the self-worth that they want to create. They don't. And it's a true reflection of how we also operate. So when you're feeling insecure about anything, it's only because you haven't gone through that painful journey of figuring out how much value do you really create. Within your group, within your study group, within your quad, within your class, within the setup that is there, design, whatever construct that is. And you've got to challenge doing that. And this is not a lesson at ISB, this is a lesson for life. If you do not go through the painful journey of figuring out how much value you create every day for your own self, you will never ever feel insecure. You'll always feel secure. You'll always be fragile. Someone touches you, you will break. It's instant. It just happens in a flash. Because anyone can touch you and say, you didn't work. I said, no, I worked. I said, no, you didn't work. And it's a stupid conversation where it says, no, I worked. No, you didn't work. No, I worked. I didn't work. And go back to your appraisal discussions where you don't agree with what the manager told you as feedback, but you have no way of defending it. Because all that you have is just the work that you've done, not what was the outcome. And that comes to the last point. There's a big difference in life between output and outcome. And this is the only truth that I always live by. The easiest trap to fall into is to become an output checkbox. Here's what you should do. Check. Ankur, Warikoo, come and speak to this class. Check. You have meant to come in here, check. You meant to submit an assignment, check. You meant to score something, check. You meant to submit something, check, check, check. That's the output. If you do what the world tells you to do and you do it, that's the output. The outcome is what the output was meant to achieve. Why did you come here in the first place at 10 o'clock on Sunday? Why did I come here at 10 o'clock on Sunday? Why did you submit that assignment? Why did you sit for that class? Why did you go through that case study competition? Why did you apply to that company? Why did you sit through that interview? Why did you say what you had to say? Why did you do what you were told to do is the question you have to ask, not doing it, but why am I doing it? Output versus outcome. And it's so easy to become clinically aligned to just saying output, 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 output this one year. Because there'll be so much touching you, there'll be so much hitting you every single day that you will not have the bandwidth to decide why am I doing what I'm doing. And you become this zombie, which you all feel at some point of time. And you're just living your life through, just doing what you have to, but you're not really getting the essence of why am I doing this? And why am I here? So go back to the same question, and even if you told a lie in your essays, just read your essays again that you submitted to ISB. You actually did, if you don't remember. And you said some shit in there, right? Which an interview panel heard and they nodded their head on, and that's why you're here. Just go back to those essays and try and see, is it matching up? Is it really matching up? Did I expect this to be, or did I plan to do all of this? And if not, realign, but find a purpose of why this year is important for you. Why do you want to come in here? And if that purpose is a job, that's an output. That is not an outcome. A job is an output, not an outcome. So when you decide that you want to go for an X job, whether it's brand, it's money, it's function and whatnot, why is it that you need that money? Why is it that you need that brand? Why is it that you need that function? Are questions that you have to ask. And if you won't ask that, you will never have a sense of why you're doing what you're doing. So it'll be very easy for you to move around and do that. So when yesterday someone asked why do people change in 6 months, it's because they didn't ask this question. Why is it that almost all of you, almost conclusively, will change your first job within a year of joining it? Because you didn't put in enough effort. You didn't go through the outcome journey, you just focused on the output, got a job, out of business school, you have a tag, you have a LinkedIn profile, you have a Facebook update. Great, life's good. But it's not the outcome. It's not how you should have thought about it, but how you went in. Okay? So these are the things that I want to tell you as an alum, and I recognize, I completely appreciate the fact that all that I'm saying is easier for me to say because I've been out of the system for 10 years, and I respect that. I respect what you're going through, and I know that it's very hard for you to consume what I'm saying and still deliver and act on it. But if there's anything that you can take out meaningfully, then it is just this one thing, that do not get comfortable this year. Because you will. You will want to get comfortable. You will want to say that you're going through so much emotion that you just want to settle and take a moment of peace and just not think about anything and just chill out. But what you recognize or don't is that is taking you away from the outcome that you're meant to achieve. And because you don't have a sense of the outcome, you think you're okay with it. Okay? Let's have a nice, happy Q&A round, and then we will end it.
Sure.
I see a hand already.
Yeah. I'm just interested in finding out what your take is on Flipkart and what the IITs and IIMs are doing. They're sort of demanding jobs.
So you wouldn't like what I say, but I'll say it. It's not their fault. it's the students. And someone asked me this question again. So there's one thing that Flipkart didn't do well. So we at Nearby, in case you don't know, we made 6 offers last year, 4 for product and 2 project managers. Their joining was delayed to October, but we told them in Feb. And I was working very closely with them to ensure that they had something to do between now and then. So one of them has joined BCG on a 6-month project, one of them has joined Grofers, and we constantly engage with them. We want to have them, but there was a very different reason, not any financial stress or anything, that had to make that delay come through. So whatever I say will be biased because I am part of that thing. But here's my stand. What Flipkart did do a good job of is the timing of the communication. You can't be telling people a month before they're joining that they won't be joining. That's just bad. Not cool. That's number one. Number two is Flipkart does have a sense, and this is just my very far away understanding of how they operate. They do have this sense of cockiness in them, where they do think that they are good, and to some extent they are, but they can just get away with stuff, and that naturally didn't work. Where I think it's not fair on them to be told what they're being told is, one, at the end of it, you are adults and you're responsible for the decisions that you make. No one forced you to do that, and you may want to blame it on system and you want to blame it on what you were forced to, but at the end of it, guess who is responsible for your life? You. So at any point of time, if you have to go through a journey where you're saying, hey, this looks great and whatnot, you have to have that due diligence come through. No one could have foreseen that. No one could have foreseen what Flipkart went through. But could you have foreseen what Stazilla went through? Fuck yes. Like, Stazilla has been in shit for a year now. So if you don't want to stand up and still be comfortable that, oh, you know what? Someone came in to the campus, interviewed me, gave me a job, and I didn't have to move out of campus. I am God, and I have my Facebook update and my LinkedIn profile. Then, sorry, it's not going to happen. That's not real life. It's not real life. So you go back and you do your job. There are alums in companies that you're getting a job at. How is it that you can accept a fucking job without speaking to the alum in that company? How can you even do that? Do you do that in real life? Like, do you meet people on the first date and get married to them without knowing who they are? And sorry if you've done that, that's fucked up. Don't do it. Don't. So it's just stupid for anyone to start crying foul because they've been through this journey. It's absolutely absurd for someone to be saying, oh, you know what, you pay us the compensation because that's what people like. If I get to hear that you're a guy who accepted a compensation of $1.5 lakh a month for a delayed joining, I will fucking never hire you. Never, ever hire you. Because that's the guy who has entitlement written on their forehead. Like literally caps. I am, and I fucking rule the world. No, you don't. And get away. So you are responsible for your decisions. And I can tell you, the next 1 year is not going to be easy. If anything, is going to be harder. There will be companies that are going through their motions. There will be organizations that are struggling to find their feet. There will be decisions that you will have to take, which you will not be 100% aware of. There is information asymmetry. But please do your homework. And the homework is not a fucking P&L and a balance sheet. The homework is a sentiment. Speak to people in that organization and they'll tell you how they feel. And they'll tell you whether they are feeling good about this, not good about this, whether the founder really makes sense when they stand up on all hands and speak about how well they're doing or not. Are we getting that kind of just vibe of this is healthy or not? You will get the answer. You will get the answer. There is no one at Stazilla that says that it is doing well. So why would you accept an offer? Because you just feel that it's your attachment. And I am brutal on this, absolutely. It is absolutely 98% the student's fault, whatever you may like to believe. And it is your decision at the end of it. When you join organizations and you leave them in 6 months, that's your decision. And if organizations come in and for whatever reason are not true to their word, but you chose to do that, not going through that homework, it is still your decision. The one thing that you should recognize at the end of this is you have to have the belief that you're sitting on a great platform and you have the backing of the world around you. We're not going to die of hunger. None of us is going to die of hunger. None of us is going to die of poverty. None of us is going to die because we will never get a job and we don't know how to earn. So don't make it such a big deal in your life when these things come in. They are a reflection of what's going to happen to you in a normal course of event. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. But the fact is that you cannot shy away from the work that goes into making the decision. Once you've made it, shit happens, and that's fine. Just move on. I don't know if that's the answer you want.
Yeah, thank you.
Please.
So you were talking about not getting comfortable.
Yeah.
How do you not get comfortable?
One, stop watching GOT. Get it. Here's how I think about it. And this is just my way of thinking about it. I don't assume that that's the right way. At every single day when you come in, like I'm usually the first one to enter office, the last one to leave office. And I don't do it to make a point. I do it because I love my work. I'm an absolute workaholic. How I don't get comfortable is there are two modes in life. One is, and it's a Professor Warikoo. I don't know if this will come through, but there's a beautiful construct in psychology called flow, if you guys know of it. There is capability on one axis, and there's complexity on the other axis. Okay? So how complex is the task that you're doing? How capable are you of doing it? A 45-degree line is what's called flow. Okay? It's a perfect equilibrium between what you're supposed to do and whether you're able to do it. This is the basis for all gaming in this world. It's a beautiful science where, think about when you play a game, if you are gamers, the leveling is a beautiful reflection of what flow is. If the game is too hard, you will stop playing it. Yeah, I need that. Like you'll feel dumb about it, so you're like, no, I don't want to feel shitty about myself, I'll stop playing it. If the game is too easy, you'll stop playing it because you're like, you know what, everyone's cracking it, what's the big shit? But if you find an equilibrium, then you're always there. So anything in here, you will give up. Anything in towards there, you will not do it. This is what is comfortable, or not getting comfortable. The world is always here. The world is always optimizing for, can I make it easy for me? Can I make it easy for me? Can I make it easy for me? The question you have to ask is, how do I make myself really, really challenged? If you don't like waking up every day, you wake up every day in the morning. If you do not feel comfortable addressing a crowd, you participate in things that make you address a crowd. If you're not very well with project management, with planning your time, with multitasking, you get deep into it and do things that challenge you, that make you feel scared, that make you feel challenged, that make you feel, oh my God, I'm going to fail. But guess what? You wouldn't, or even if you do, you'll get to know more about yourself than you did. That is what it means by not getting comfortable. Comfort is you live your life. It's just normal, right? There's everything laid out for you. You have your food, you have your classes, you have your assignments, you have your study group, everything in there. But if you don't inherently like accounting and you have a CA in your group, guess what is comfort? Telling him to do it. That is comfort. But what is getting uncomfortable is, you know what? Let me take a shot at it. Why don't you grade me on that? I will do this assignment and you grade me on that assignment before it even hits the grade. And let's do that. And if he agrees for this, great, you have a friend in you. But make that happen. Because it's so easy to say, yeah, engineer को engineer दे दो, CA को accounting दे दो, इसको ये दे दो, life is normal, आधे लोग उधर जाओ, आधे लोग उधर जाओ, बाकी मेरे पीछे आओ. Life's good. But no. So that in essence is what you have to do. Just make a list of things that have always scared you and do all of them this year. All of them. Not even one, all of them. But don't watch TV.
We're talking about outputs and outcomes, and largely the focus on output is also a challenge of the system that you're part of, right? The education system in India is largely that. We can think about revolution, primary school, until you come to 10th standard, 12th standard, which is mug up, road, vomit, and stuff like that, which is true for anything. How do you think ISB, or let alone us, let's start off with us and then talk about ISB, but how do you think beyond that outcomes, how can we constantly focus on the outcomes and not be so focused on that output? Because let's say 5 years down the line, it's not going to be the grades or this output, but that outcome, that's what's going to last. And what have you done to change yourself thinking from that output?
Sure. That's a good question. So, number one is, when you say 5 years hence the grades will not matter, the reality is 5 hours after you graduated from ISB, your grades will not matter. Because by then you would have just disclosed it. It's not. Nothing, as I mentioned, is, are you going to use any of the theory that you are learning here? Most likely not. Are you going to use the mental framework that you have realized? Yes. So I was a physics student before I came into ISB. I had a master's in physics. I had led this very linear life where I didn't know anything beyond XYZ. And ISB just exposed me to a whole new world where I was exposed to how marketing things and finance things and accounting things and stuff like that. So what I benefited from is, how do you bring in this perspective? Not remembering the 4 P's and the 3 C's and whatnot, but how do you bring that entire perspective in? This is a great example. Game developers use a psychology concept to design games. If they didn't know of this, they would be making horrible games. And we know what those games are because we don't play them. And that's how the world differentiates between someone who knows beyond what it is and what doesn't. The question you have to ask yourself is, what are you optimizing for this year? I was very clear, and this is how I went through my journey. When I joined ISB, well, before ISB, my job paid me $14,500 a month. And the EMI for the ISB loan that I was taking would be $20,000. So I kid you not, I was only optimizing for a job that would get me 35,000 rupees an ad. That's it. That was it. I didn't have any other goal than this from a job perspective. So then I sat and I attended the classes in a way of outcome and not output. I wasn't designed, like I said, here is what my capability is intellectually, so if I hit the dean's list, great. If I don't, sure, I can't help it. I can't create my IQ more than what it is. But I'm going to do whatever else comes naturally to me. So I played around. I did not take in any position of leadership, but I was there in almost every club, making things happen. I realized that I was good at project management and getting things together and just making a plan and executing on it. That's where I found my mojo, so on and so forth, and I continued to do that. So the entire year became about self-learning and what you draw from it rather than an output of a job. And that fundamentally changed a lot of things. Not to say that I didn't feel the agony of the placement process or the dejection of it or anything that was associated, but at least I had optimized for a world where I knew that even if I didn't get the job that I wanted, I would absolutely get a 35,000 rupee job. And if I get that, I would have got to the outcome nevertheless. It's a hard thing, but it is something that needs to be done. There is absolutely no way about it. So when you sit in a class and you're constantly focusing, and I've been in that situation, and so are you, where you're like, oh my God, I have to earn that 20% of CP, I have to earn that 20% of CP, I have to earn that 20% of CP, I have to earn that 20% of CP. And I said, I agree. Right? That's when you are losing the entire essence of that class. You're absolutely losing it. Because then you're optimizing for something that you're not going to win it. You're not. And real life is not like that. So you're not going to benefit from it like that as well. But it's just the notion of what the world has told you success is. So raising your hand and saying something meaningful, that's success. But you define it for yourself. I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said a lot of that. It's hard. And when I say it's hard, it's because it's something that you feel within. It's not something that you can just take a playbook on. You have to get that mental mode in. And it doesn't come through necessarily meditation, but it surely doesn't come through watching GOT. I don't watch it, so I have no appreciation for it. So I just mock people. It may be the best thing on board. I just don't know about it. And I'm sorry about that if I'm offending people.
So I have another question.
Please.
So you're talking about entitlement, like sense of entitlement. So when you recruit students from ISB or other premier colleges, you will find a good amount of people who already have worked in corporates, etc.
Sure.
Where there is a good amount of entitlement that you. So what is the advice that you would give to those people who would like to come to a startup, but already do have that sense of entitlement? How would they change, or what would you like them to change?
No, you know what, I don't think the sense of entitlement is a habit. It's more about how the organization feels and operates. There are enough smart people that I've hired which came from precisely the places which have this high sense of entitlement, but they fit in and beautifully into nearby because we don't have one. And we laid it out very clearly, right from get-go, so they were oriented towards that, and they just beautifully molded towards. The interview process at Nearby is very distinct. So we have a very EQ-led interview process. It's not so much IQ, but of course once we've covered the base and everything, okay, you're a good PM and you can think through this, blah, blah, blah. We ask questions that truly tell us about the individual. So pick between money and power, speed and perfection. Are you driven by the joy of winning or the fear of losing? Pick between a pen and a pencil. Pick between Shah Rukh Khan and Amir Khan. There's no right answer, but it's telling us something about that individual. It's telling us how they operated. It's telling us what it is. Should there be a leave policy at work? It's a great question. It gets to, that one single question tells me more about an individual than a lot of other questions. Should there be a leave policy at work? And it's amazing how many people believe that there should be a leave policy at work. Well, I don't think there should be a leave policy at work. I think leave policy is very, very dictatorial. Like, why would you want to do someone else's life if they're doing the job that they were meant to do? They're getting their outcome. So it doesn't matter where they are or who they are. If they want to leave, they just leave. They let you know, but there doesn't need to be a leave policy which is like 15 दिन है, फिर वो PL है, CL है, फिर avail है, फिर FNF में उसका कुछ settlement हो रहा है. It's just farce that you've created to create employment. But the fact is that if someone's happy, then just do it. So things like those. And I don't think you need to work on that. What you need to be constantly and consciously aware of is that are you getting into that mode where you start cribbing, where you just literally crib about stuff. So I took a flight recently which had Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi on flights is like the best thing ever. It's man's best invention after the toilet. So you go in there, and there's a gentleman sitting next to me. There's like this 10 minutes of free Wi-Fi before you actually, it's a proper seduction mechanism, get that guy in, bait it, WhatsApp shuru karega to 10 minutes baad rukega to nahi, right? So he will kind of play. And the guy logs in, and within 2 minutes, there's this patchy network. So he loses that connection. And he's like, oh, fuck. And you then realize that there are people who just love to crib. They don't know that 2 minutes back, or you know what, 6 months back, there was no concept of Wi-Fi on an airline. What you're getting is a privilege. So why don't you just take it and be okay with it? It'll come back. Your life is not dead. You're not going to go blind. You're not going to die. It's not a crash. It's Wi-Fi that you've lost. But you know and you see people who are constantly in that mode. वो सांबर अच्छा नहीं है. वो नहीं है. So Nearby we have lunch because of course all food startups should have lunch. But we ask employees to pay for the lunch to 50%. So the lunch costs us $60 and the employee pays 30. And there is raita, salad, dal, do sabzi, chawal, roti, and a dessert. Okay? All for $30. And then the guys very nicely, and they're like nice, happy catering people. So उन्होंने एक feedback book रखी हुई है in there. वो गधे हैं, उनको पता भी नहीं हिंदुस्तानी customers कैसे होते हैं. तो उन्होंने रखी हुई है. And then there will be, so I every day go and read that feedback book. Not even a single guy ever, has said, you know what, in $30, thank you for this meal. Dal अच्छी नहीं थी आज. And literally, the guy is not saying that the dal is consistently bad. It's like, today the dal was not good. I am sorry. I'm genuinely sorry. If you want me to touch your feet, I will touch your feet. But when you write that on that thing, it is just for me a crib. It is just a crib. And I'm better off not having you in the company. Honestly. Because it may be about the dal, but you know what? It's a reflection of how you think in life. It's just a reflection of how you think in life. Nothing else. So don't get into that mode. The minute you start cribbing about AC सही नहीं है, वो Wi-Fi का speed ठीक नहीं है, मेरा torrent नहीं download हो रहा है, so no, then you know that you're in that mode, and just escape that mode. In life, just escape that mode.
A similar thought on that. Like
Yeah.
we can think this in a different perspective.
Sure.
Right. So if the guy's job who is serving lunch is to serve people.
Yes.
And like if it's okay to let him know that this is not good, probably he might be serving it better.
Yeah.
So it's okay to also let him know that that's not good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There is a big difference between giving feedback where you want the person to genuinely improve
Yeah.
and giving feedback because you want to splurt something out. So a way of writing that would have been, usually dal is really good. I don't know what happened today. Instead of saying dal today was bad. Okay? Just a simple mode. It's just EQ. It's exactly how life will be. When you become a manager and you're telling people that you're fucking up, there are two ways of saying it. One is that you fucked up. You are bad, you don't know shit, you're not going to do anywhere, you're getting fired. Or the second one is, do you want? So one philosophy that I use in leadership is, and it's a very important question that you ask yourself, especially when you're sitting in front of people that you don't know are going good or bad. Like there are people who are just not performing. The question you ask yourself is, do I want this person to win or do I want this person to lose? Do I genuinely want this person to win or do I want him to lose? And your way of dealing with the person will be dramatically opposite if you ask this question and answer it for yourself. If you want that person to win, you will give feedback which is very different from what you usually do. Because more often than not, we give feedback that is discouraging, that almost makes you feel shitty, that you're not worth anything, but it's not helping. Help him win. Help him win. So give that feedback. No, usually dal is really good. What happened to you today? Dude, come on. And they will take it like, oh boss, sorry, like, when you, my favorite word is, you have disappointed me. That is like, it just pierces the heart of people who are truly driven by the right intent. When you say things like, you have disappointed me, it just hurts where it hurts. And that's a trick that my first manager at Carney taught me. He left me with a life lesson that I love. He said, good people in life pay a far higher price for being good than bad people pay for being bad. Good people pay a far higher price for being good than bad people pay for being bad. If you're good, you become a natural magnet to more work. You become a natural magnet to responsibilities. You become a natural magnet of expectations. And that is hard. Because bad people are just lazy. They know how to get their way through. Politics, ass licking, blah, blah, blah. They will find a way of not working. So no work will come to them. But good people will always have work coming through them. Absolutely. And that's the way you have to think about it. So if you really tell good people that I trusted you and you somehow didn't stand up to what it is, they jaan de denge.
Going back on the line that you said about getting feedback that it enables you to empowers you to win or lose. So if you get all kinds of such feedback from different people, how do you take most of it in a how do you moderate most of it in a positive feedback or constructive feedback? Because some of it actually may be sort of trying to make you lose.
The good thing about feedback is that it's your choice to dismiss it or take it. And it's how you react to it. Of course, it's not a good thing for you to be feeling disheartened if there is someone who's genuinely giving you feedback, even if it's to make you lose. Because at the end of it, what is, and Sonali asked this question if you were there yesterday, if you do a survey of the most successful CEOs, and there was one that was done, what was that one quality that all the successful CEOs had that differentiated them from the ones that did? What do you think that is? For those who know the answer, don't say it out. What is that one quality that differentiates successful CEOs from the not so successful ones?
They listen.
Sorry?
They listen.
They listen or
Okay, do they listen? No.
positive?
Positive? No. All these are important, but no. No, not assertive.
Take feedback and act on it.
No. No. Close.
Integrity.
No.
They fail frequently.
They share feedback?
They fail.
They fail? No. Entitlement?
Empathy.
Empathy? No. Self-awareness. Self-awareness. They know who they are. They know how fucked up they are. They know how good they are. But they know. So no one can touch them. Literally no one can touch them. And that stems back. It was a hard realization for me because I used to be affected a lot when I was younger. But anything that people will shake, right? Because you're just fragile. You'll be like, oh, mota ho gaya kafi. But you just take it, right? You don't know how to react to these things. Like, how am I supposed to? I've not changed even 100 grams from what I was for the last 6 months or something else. Shit, I'm really looking fat. So, things like that. Anything can touch you. But the fact is, if you're not self-aware, of course anything can touch you. That's the definition of self-awareness. So if you're self-aware, and it's a hard struggle and a journey to find that, but you constantly do that, just always have a mirror in front of you. And say, yeah, this is what it is. You can't help it. But if that's true, then no feedback can touch you. Absolutely not the one that will make you lose, for sure.
Continuing that point, like something, if you feel that if a person is very self-aware and people around them feel nothing can change him or something, and doesn't it come across as stubborn or arrogant or like not reacting to anything, like person is feeling?
Self-awareness doesn't mean being cocky. Self-awareness doesn't mean that I'm God, that I don't need improvement. Self-awareness means I know who I am. That's it. So I know who I am. There is this great talk in TED on vulnerability, which I would strongly encourage you to listen to if you can. It talks about how some people are comfortable with being vulnerable. How is it that some people can actually stand up and talk about anything that they are, whether they're failures, whether they're success, whether who they are, their weakness, and so on. And it's because they are comfortable with the fact of being vulnerable. Being vulnerable and being comfortable about it makes them more stronger or makes them better. So it is not about whether you're confident or not, or whether you can not see anything wrong with you. It's just about knowing who you are, with your rights and wrongs. And people will see through it, of course, yes. But if they're giving genuine feedback on what's wrong on you, you will make that happen. Because you want to make that happen. You have a question?
You say that the class of 17 is a very panicked batch.
Seems like it. Seems like it.
Okay. And then you say that we should not get comfortable. So where is it that balance exists, if there exists one?
Yeah. So panic is different from paranoia. Panic is negative. Paranoia is almost positive. You should have a sense of paranoia. You shouldn't get comfortable failing. You shouldn't get comfortable saying, oh yeah, because stress is, and this is something that I heard and I liked it, stress is what you get when you're working hard for something you don't want. That's what stress is. Stress is something you get when you're working hard for something you don't want. So when you're feeling stressed, it's because you don't really know whether you want that consulting job or not, but you have this pressure on you that you should be sitting on a consulting interview and preparing for consulting, and that is creating that unnecessary stress, which is very different from feeling a sense of paranoia that, am I getting from this year that I am meant to do? And that's a big difference. It's very easy to mistake the two, but it should be obvious that don't confuse the two.
You said that we should rather focus on the outcome and not so much on the output. But what do you think? How many people really, those who focus on the outcome, get a chance, to? So let's say to come to ISB and speak about it. I would say, let's say 5 to 10%, because the rest of the people they would not come in the society as successful. So do you think this is also applicable? And people who focus on the output are usually they are successful. This is what is said about them.
So you almost fell into the bait because you proved to me that the first point that I was making is a reality. The world will. So here I sit on the ISB board, so I'm privy to the conversation that happened, and here is how they think about the school. There is this notion and growing unrest amongst a lot of you and alums as well. Why are we increasing the batch size? Why are we consistently doing that? Is it having an effect on the quality of the students coming through and whatnot? But here's how we think about it. So Harvard has an intake of about 880 people every year, one single school. And Harvard optimizes for this one fact alone. Is it that the top 10% of this batch are newsmakers or not? Okay? That's all that they optimize for. Is the 10% of the batch, which means 90 odd people, are they going to create news in the next 10 years or not? And if they will, we don't care what the rest do. We don't care what the rest do. We will give them a great education. We'll give them all the infrastructure and the facilities and everything that they should expect and deserve. But we don't care if they make it or not. Because guess what? They don't know what success is for the remaining 880 minus 80. They don't. For someone, success may be going and joining an NGO, and the world may say, "Kya kar raha hai? Kisan kyun mati kar raha hai?" And that may be their false sense of righteousness. The fact is that you're successful in your head. So 5-10% of this batch is going to create news, and that's the reality. That doesn't mean that the remaining 90% haven't done what they had to do. It is your decision to choose what you define as your own success. It is absolutely that. And it is amazing, even in our batch, which is 10 years hence, there are people who still figuring shit out. And they're happy. They're genuinely happy. They're taking challenges. My closest friend from ISB went to Dubai after ISB to work with Dun & Bradstreet, which is a fairly well-recognized Middle East consulting firm. Did that for 4 years. Came back, was an EA to the Salgaonkar Group chairman, which is one of India's largest mining companies in Goa. Did that for 4 years. And left all of that to do a fellowship, which paid her 15,000 rupees a month and made her to work in the field of education. And then she is right now working in a consulting firm which consults corporates on social initiatives, and she is immensely happy. She is earning 50,000 rupees a month. Not successful by any world standard for an ISB grad at 10 years plus experience. But guess what? She's happy. She loves her work. She's more driven to go to work than I am perhaps. And she loves it. So, who am I to call her successful or not? She's smart, she's taken her own choices, and so should you. And I don't know if that answered your question, but the outcome that you focused on is going to be defined by you. Don't let the world define it for you. It's not that 4 that you should be going for, it's not that 3.8, it's not that CP, it's not anything else. It's what you define for your own self. From this marketing course, this is what I want to learn. And if I get it, it doesn't matter what is the output of it, whether it's grade or it's my success or what people think of it. Right, 11:10, and one last question and we'll end.
So if we want to be an entrepreneur, what would you suggest we do while we are at ISB?
Sorry, if you are what?
If you want to be an entrepreneur in the near future,
yeah.
What do you suggest we do while we are at ISB?
One, you should have joined ISB. So, it's a question I get asked a lot. I don't know what you mean by if you want to become an entrepreneur, but if you want to start up,
yeah, exactly.
Then if you have a great idea, you're totally driven by it, you have an absolute conviction that this will work or not, totally do it right after ISB. Don't screw around and think of whether I should do it or not do it and blah, blah, blah. Of course, everything else equal, your financial consideration and everything else. But don't, of course, optimize for what the world thinks of it. If you're not convinced of what you want to do, but you eventually think you want to do it, which was my state, then just join a normal role that will give you the kind of experience and exposure that you think will benefit you in the long run. So I chose consulting because it would help me a lot, and it did. And when the time was right, I made the plunge and quit all of that fancy world to take the leap into entrepreneurship and started on my own. So it's a choice that you make, but the key input is conviction. Whether you're convinced by what is it that you want to do, because it will be a hard journey, and if you don't have the conviction to see that through, you will always question yourself. It will be an unbearable period of self-doubt where you'll constantly see your friends and family and batchmates having a wonderful time, driving their BMWs and flying business class, and you will be still sorting out your monthly bills. But if you are convinced of the idea, then you will see that through. So that will be my honest feedback. Advice, not feedback. Yeah? Great. All the best with the year. As I mentioned, you have no idea what's going to hit you. And don't even plan for it, optimize for it. It's going to be a year that will change you. Embrace that change. Embrace that change. If you're an engineer, stop hanging around with engineers. Please. And if you are someone else, just get to know the other side. You are in this pool which is fantastically diverse, and you will be doing yourself such a disservice if you're just hanging around the people that you're comfortable with. Speak different languages. Go out there and just embrace the change that you're going to come through. I'm at your disposal. If you want to write in, do anything, please feel free. I told Abir as well, in fact, the EBC, we would love to host several of you at our nearby office, should you have the time and the will and the inclination. Love to show you how is it that we work, bring you into our corners, get you exposed to at least some semblance of what a startup life could be close to, so that you at least have an appreciation for it and are better informed of how these things could work in the future. But beyond that, if there's anything I can help with, warikoo@gmail.com, that's my contact. I'm always available. Okay, have a good Sunday. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.